Hi you guys, my name is Cyan Gore and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I haven't seen you guys in a minute, it feels like, and that's because the last time you saw me we were doing Bookmas. However, as you can probably tell, that didn't end up getting done. Like, I didn't finish it because I had a lot of family stuff come up. My dad did have heart surgery and a lot of you guys actually reached out to check in on me and my dad, so thank you for those of you who have. He is doing so good now. Well, I mean, he's in a lot of pain, but he's fine. So I have just been busy with that as well as the holidays, and part of Bookmas was actually supposed to be me reading books that my husband bought me because he did make me like a book advent calendar, and that was supposed to be spread all throughout Bookmas. This was kind of like my December TBR, but obviously that didn't happen. So I thought I would do something a little bit crazy, and I'm going to try to finish all of these books in 48 hours. Yeah, this will definitely be interesting to see if I can actually do this, but that's what we're doing for today's video. I am going to be doing this where I read for 24 hours straight, and then I'm going to basically just like go to sleep, chill out, wake up, have a normal day, and then do another 24-hour readathon. Does that make sense? So 24 hours, take a day off, 24 hours. That's what we're doing. This is gonna be fun, I think. That's it. Let's go ahead and get into it by figuring out what book we're going to be reading first. Have it right here. Oh, jeez, this tape is on here real good. Okay, so first off we have His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I absolutely loved Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, and for some reason it's like one of those books that I really enjoyed, and then afterwards I just never read anything else from this author, so I am excited to get back into her writing, see what it's about. Plus, I think a thriller for her first book is going to be like a good way to keep me hooked and interested in reading. Oh yeah, another part of this plan that I have is that I'm actually reading from midnight to midnight, and it's currently midnight. So technically I guess I'll start reading at like 12:02 once I get comfy, but I feel like this might be a good idea, might be terrible. I did take a nap earlier. Now I'm getting like anxious about how I plan this out and if my plan is actually gonna work, but you know what, we're just gonna do it and see what happens. Might be asleep in like 2 hours, who knows. We are now at 21 hours and 55 minutes, but it is 2:05 in the morning. I feel like I should be whispering, but I'm not going to because this is my house. So anyways, I am 50% of the way through His and Hers. In this book we have two characters, Anna and Jack. We are getting both of their point of views. Anna is a news reporter, Jack is a detective. They both kind of have a history, and they both cross paths again when a girl in this town is murdered. Anna Andrews is going to be covering the case on the news. He is obviously going to be one of the detectives involved in figuring out who murdered this woman. As we're learning more of the story, we figure out that both of them actually have a connection to one another, Anna and Jack, and they both have connections to the victim. One of them is also kind of being framed as the killer, and they're both very unreliable narrators. They're not very likable characters as well, so it is making you question everything that they're saying and everything that's going on in here, and it is very suspenseful in that aspect. I will say though, there are some parts where it starts to get a little bit slow, like we're going into their past, specifically mostly Anna's, to learn more about her connection to the victim and her connection to Jack. So like, it's interesting, but those parts are also like a little boring in my opinion, but like, it's not bad. It's just not really one that is gripping. I will say a lot of people do recommend Rock, Paper, Scissors and say that that is Alice Feeney's best book. So I feel like because that's the one and only I've read, this one just feels mediocre in comparison to that one, but I'm still liking the writing style and the way that she makes you feel when you're reading. There's an eeriness to it, and I enjoy that feeling. I don't know if everyone does, but I am all for it, okay? So that is what's going on so far. That's how I'm feeling so far. I don't really have any predictions on who the murderer is, because sometimes in a thriller the author will leave little breadcrumbs every once in a while here and there, and I try to like look too deep into it and I will cling to any sort of clue that I can get. But right now I'm currently just like vibing with the book, and I'm not even thinking too much about it, and I'm not personally trying to figure out what's going on. I'm just enjoying my time. I actually kind of recommend that. I need to do that more often when it comes to books, thrillers specifically. Anyways, I'm gonna keep reading and I'll update you guys once we are finished. It's 2 a.m. and I'm already like, I'm feeling tired. We're off to a great start. It's now 4:30 in the morning. We have 19 hours and 33 minutes left to go, and I did just finish His and Hers. For this book, a good portion of it was interesting. It's definitely on, I would say, like the darker side, because as I mentioned earlier, you do get an insight into Anna's past and childhood, and it gets a little dark, some of the things that these people were doing as literal teenagers. But besides that, there is another murder that takes place in this book, so it's actually a serial killer, and you're figuring out their connections to both of the victims as well as the murderer. One of the murders that happens in this book, it kind of got into detail, and it felt a little bit graphic in my opinion, but obviously read it at your own discretion. Everyone feels differently about those kind of things. The only thing that really just kind of brought this book down for me was the ending, the plot twist, right? So who is the murderer? That I was able to kind of guess. I didn't really know why they were doing it, and I definitely don't know how they were able to get away with it, because that's not really explained in this book. It did kind of feel a little bit messy. There were a lot of plot holes in it, in my opinion. But was it terrible? No, it was okay. It's just not one of my favorite thrillers. It's definitely one that I think I will end up forgetting about. But honestly, that doesn't say a lot about me, because I forget a lot about a lot of these books that I end up reading. So you might like it. I do like the vibes of it and the way that it made me feel. The writing is very easy. It is a good thriller slash mystery. It's just not really up there for me. So I'm gonna have to give it like a 3.25, maybe 3.5. Like, it was good. I was entertained, but I can't get over the plot. If you've read this book, why? Why was that the plot twist? Why was that person the murderer? I don't get it. That is this one. Now we're gonna move on to our next book. I do have it over here. Let's unwrap it, shall we? I don't know why I'm closing my eyes, but they're already closed, so we're gonna leave them. The Stars. Oh my goodness! I loved Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann, and I know that she has other books that are like kind of interconnected, I want to say. Like, I think the characters all know each other from Still Beating, but I don't think you have to read them in order. But I am excited because I actually have another one by her that I just haven't gotten to yet. I don't know why, but it's Lotus. Let's get into it. I'm actually kind of curious though. Do I have to read them in order, or am I making that up? There's an author's note. Friends and readers, I'm so thrilled that you decided to read Gabe and Tabitha's angsty friends to lovers romance. Please know that this book is a follow-up novel to Still Beating and Lotus. Why did I say Lotus like that? For the best reading experience, it is highly bolded and underlined recommended that you read those two novels prior to starting this one. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go get Lotus from upstairs and we will read that one first. I don't think we're gonna read this one in this video, but like, it still counts, you know, because that one needs to go first. I just literally got the shit scared out of me. It is now, that's fantastic. It's 7:22 in the morning and I have 16 hours and 40 minutes left to go. The reason why I just got so scared is because I thought, since I haven't slept, you know, that like it was 3 a.m. I was getting like those kind of vibes, and I started hearing voices, but it just turns out other people are leaving for the day and I haven't slept yet. So this is fantastic. Moving on, I am on chapter 19 of Lotus by Jennifer Hartmann. In this book, we are following both Oliver and Sydney. Oliver and Sydney have been childhood friends. They grew up as neighbors. She is still living in this town. She actually moved into the house right next to the one Oliver and his brother live at. But when they were children, Oliver was actually abducted and has been missing for years. And he just came back to live with his brother and to kind of just learn how to live a normal life after being abducted, and now you're an adult. Like, what do you do in that situation? Him and Sydney are just kind of getting to know each other. She's helping him readjust to this new life that he has. At the same time, I guess like there's also a faint mystery element of why did this person abduct him, because you do get some flashbacks on Oliver's point of view of to what happened to him when he was abducted. On the bright side, it is not dark in the aspect of him getting sexually abused or anything, because let's be so real, when a child is abducted, that's like the first thing that probably pops into your head is that that is something that happens to them. In this book, that's not what happened to him, so it just leads you to have more questions of why was he abducted? Why was this person doing the things that they did to him when he was abducted? I don't quite get it, but I am really enjoying it. I think their personalities are really good because she definitely has more of a spunky, like outgoing personality, and he was a lot more sheltered. For example, and this isn't a spoiler or anything, but for example, her niece says Oliver gets shotgun and Oliver says I'm not good with handguns, and they have to explain to him what shotgun is. So it's like that cute, almost like a little bit nerdy thing. The way he speaks too, I don't know, it's just like so innocent and pure and wholesome. And then you have Sydney, who likes to read smutty novels and is more out there, and I just love when there is that type of dynamic between our two characters, and that's what's happening in here. And like I said, it's not as dark as Still Beating, I would say, but it is like beautiful and wholesome. I think if you really enjoyed Archer's voice, this would be another one that you would probably really enjoy. I loved Archer's voice, and this one I'm loving a lot right now too. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading, try to stay up, because I'm not gonna lie, this close to falling asleep, and I still have so much time left to go. Like, I could actually just fall asleep, but I'm trying to make myself as uncomfortable as possible, which sounds crazy. I'm someone who has to sleep in complete darkness. I have my lights set up. I am not really laying down and getting comfortable, and sometimes when I'm in the middle of reading, I'll literally do this number right here. If I start to get tired, I'll just like blink really slow and hard to keep me awake. I mean, I think it's working. I doubt you care. Let's keep getting into this book. It's 10:17 and I have 13 hours and 53 minutes left, so 14 hours just about, and I did just finish Lotus. So this one, it was so good, you guys. Hold on, let me get my thoughts together real quick. Okay, so there are a lot of things in this book that I like about it. Like I said earlier, there is a little bit of like a mystery element to it. It was kind of predictable, but it didn't take away from the story because this is mostly a romance, so definitely go into it with a romance mindset, I would say. The pacing of the romance was really good in my opinion. It's not a super slow burn, but it's also not one that moves way too quickly. As I also mentioned earlier, I like both of our characters' personalities. There are some other little things that I really liked, that he literally finds a raccoon and makes it his pet. I loved that. Also, he has a thing with like comic books and stuff, so that is kind of mentioned a lot in here. And another thing that I really loved is you don't even really figure out why this book is called Lotus until the very end. I love when books do that, when the title is mentioned in the book and it's almost like the puzzle pieces just fit into place. You're like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense now why it is called Lotus. And I really enjoyed this book. Like I said earlier, if you like a sweet, wholesome, almost innocent-ish main character, I think you will like that for our male main lead. And as well, if you like a more No, I was gonna say ambitious, rambunctious, a more quirky female character, you will like Sydney. For me personally, I think it's gonna be like a 4-star because it wasn't perfect. I still liked Still Beating better, but I really enjoyed this. I just love Jennifer Hartmann's writing. I know this is only the second book I've read by her, but I think she does romance so beautifully, and she takes tragedy and broken characters and just makes them whole. And I love to see it. So that is this one. I'm glad I got to read that. That was great, actually. I'm feeling quite oily. Anyways, let's move on to the next book. We have our next book. Voila. Let's go through it. Yep. Oh! Okay, so next up we have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I love V.E. Schwab's writing. You probably heard me talk about it before. Loved Vicious and Vengeful as well as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. But honestly, like those 3 books I've heard a lot about. However, I haven't really heard that much about this series or trilogy or whatever it is, but I did want to get into it. Another thing though is like I just did a video not so long ago talking about all of the series I'm in the middle of. Do I want to get in the middle of more series? Not particularly, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So let's read this. Maybe I should do a video where I finish series that I'm in the middle of. Cyan, we're not gonna think about that. Let's focus on this one. First off, the sleepiness is really hitting right now, and it's 1:41. I'm actually very surprised that I've made it this far, but oh man, I'm sleepy. Okay, I have 10 hours and 36 minutes left. Like I said, it's 1:41, and I have made it to part 9. In A Darker Shade of Magic. So in this book we are following Kel and Lila. Basically in this book there are 4 different Londons, and it's kind of like a parallel universe situation. We have black, red, white, and gray London, I believe. And back in the day, all of these Londons used to have magic. Something happened, and now one is like more powerful than the other. One is completely destitute, has no magic, stuff like that. And Kel is an Antari, so he can travel between the different Londons using blood magic. He's like one of the only few people that can actually do that. So he's going in between the different Londons. It's kind of like an ambassador for the different leaders of each London. Then we have Lila. She is just a normal girl and she is actually a thief who lives on her own. She has no family. She's kind of made a few friends, but she's not very trusting. I like her as a character though because she's just very headstrong and she does what she wants to. Has she done some kind of stupid things so far in the book? Yeah, but I still really like her. Also, I like her and Kel because their banter is very good. There's nothing romantic really happening yet. I obviously think that they are going to be love interests in this story. Where I'm at right now, there's like a bad guy that is also going after Kel. Lila convinces Kel to take her on an adventure. So she's gonna go with him and try to travel between the Londons, and I really don't know what else is gonna happen. And there's like a black rock object that has magic with it, and like they have it, and the bad guy's trying to get it. I feel like I know in my brain what's going on, but I'm so tired that it's hard to really describe it, so I hope that was okay, because that's all I got. But yeah, so far, like I said, the pacing of the romance is going a little bit slow, but that is perfectly fine to me. The world building is there, where you're getting a lot of world building and just explanations of everything and how it works. For me though, sometimes I do prefer a fast-paced book that just really rips me from the beginning. This one is not necessarily doing that, but I feel like the series as a whole could get better. But we'll just have to see how it ends, because so far it's not bad, but it's not great. Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. Also, I am getting a little bit confused sometimes, but I think it's just because I'm tired and because I get confused when I read a lot of fantasy books, if we're being so honest. But like I said, I still have 10 hours, so let's keep reading. We have officially made it to 8 hours. It's 4:22 p.m. and let me tell you, the amount of times I've almost fallen asleep is insane. I feel like people are going to be annoyed that throughout this entire time of this video, I'm just going to constantly be talking about how tired I am. But I don't care. Just know that she is in fact tired. Anyways, I have finished this book right here. What is it? A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I'm actually gonna give this a 4-star because in the end I really did like both of our characters so much more. Their banter is so good. Learning about who they are as people and their background was interesting. In this one book, like, I feel like each of our characters had a good bit of growth in my opinion, and the way that this book wrapped up, obviously it is a trilogy, but it wrapped up to where it didn't end on a cliffhanger, which I actually kind of like because, yeah, cliffhangers can blow your mind and make you like want to continue to read the series. But this one, it kind of wrapped up nicely to where you really don't have to read the rest of them if you don't want to. You could just say, hey, it ended right here. You might still have some questions about what's going to happen in the future, but you know, I hope someone out there understands what I'm saying. Anyways, that's this one. 4 stars. I do want to continue this series because I really liked it. And again, V.E. Schwab's writing is just so well crafted. The way that she makes her characters and makes you just really care about them. But another warning about V.E. Schwab is she does not give a damn about killing off characters. So I'll leave you with that. I mean, sometimes they're not super important characters, but I'm a little bit of a baby, so anytime anyone dies, it hits me right here as if they were my best friend, you know? So now we're gonna get into our next book. Perfect, I set them over here. For some reason, the tape is coming off of this one, but let's do it. Oh, I think I know what it is already. This is, oh, A Long Time Coming by Meghan Quinn. This is a trilogy. This is the last one. Yay! I'm gonna finish a series that I'm in the middle of. So now I'm only in the middle of, like, what, 60 instead of 61? Those weren't accurate numbers, so don't quote me on that. But anyways, this is a trilogy about 3 brothers that are all billionaires. I'm actually pretty excited to get this one because this is like the brother that honestly seemed the most interesting to me. The first book, he was a grumpy brother. The second one, he was playboy brother. And in this one, he's kind of just like there. But for some reason, I want to know more about him. And I have no idea what the trope is going to be in this one, besides the fact that he's a billionaire. So, we shall see. I will say, though, even though these books are like a good time, there's always something in each of them that gets on my nerves. Like, for instance, in the first one, she fakes a pregnancy. Like, yeah, they were fake married or whatever, but, like, you didn't have to go that far. And that's just, like, a detail that my brain clings to when I think about that book. And then in the second one, what bothered me in that one? Oh, I mean, he was just a little bit of a whiny baby. But yeah, anyways, you probably don't care. Let's read this one, finish a series that I'm in the middle of, and it's going to be a book that doesn't require a lot of brain power because after that fantasy, this is kind of what I need. So let's get into it. I'm not moving from this position. I had been trying to like switch up where I film a little bit throughout this video. By that, I mean I went from this side of the couch to that side of the couch to make it interesting, but that's not happening right now. Also, I'm sorry if like you hate me just being in one place of my house throughout all of my videos, because some people when they do these, they like go to a coffee shop to read. They work out while they're reading. They do this, and this. Not me. If you're a corporate girly, I had to use up the rest of my vacation before it just poof disappeared. And you know what? Other people use their vacation days to go on vacation. Not me. I used it so I could stay home and read for 48 hours. Anyways, that's just me rambling and prolonging this because I low-key kind of don't want to read right now, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Okay. Maybe I can listen to an audiobook, but then I'd have to be doing something. I can't just literally lay here and read an audiobook. Think about how crazy that would be. Like, imagine me, headphones on, just literally laying here, listening to an audiobook and doing nothing else. But you know what's crazy? My dad does that. He literally told me that he does that. So I think he's a psychopath. Anyways, let's read. Okay, so you probably can't tell because I'm still on the couch. I did actually have dinner. We took the dogs for a walk. I, touched some grass. So now I'm feeling a lot better. I feel like now I have the zoomies. So I feel like this is great. We're going to end off this reading vlog pretty good. Or at least the first day. Oh my gosh, I had just remembered that this is only the first half of it. Anyways, I have made it to chapter 13 of A Long Time Coming by Meghan Quinn. In this book we are following Breaker and Leah. They meet in college because they're both a little bit nerdy. They actually meet in like a secret Scrabble society where they just play Scrabble together. Now they are both adults. They are still best friends. They have never had a relationship or anything like that, and they swear to everyone that they're not in love with each other. Leah actually has a fiance. I mean, what else more is there to it? It's just like them continuing their friendship, him dating other people while also trying to navigate staying in her life even though she has a fiance, which I'm not gonna lie, as someone who has been cheated on with a girl best friend in the past, it irks me that they have such a close friendship. Like, they literally are neighbors. They moved into the same apartment complex on purpose to be close to one another. They have sleepovers. They see each other like every other day. Her fiance has a right to be angry. But I like them. I like them together because their banter is so good and sweet, and it like tickles my heart a little bit, I guess. I want them to end up together. I want them to finally see that they have feelings for each other, because right now they swear that they don't, and then like these little instances will happen. For instance, Leah looks at Breaker and she's like, oh damn, he is actually very attractive today. What's going on? And like, I like seeing that. I also just love a friends to lovers situation. Whenever it's friends to lovers, I feel like the banter is always so much better, and the banter in this one so far is hitting like 10 times more than I feel like it did in the other two books. The one thing that bothers me is that she calls him Pickle. But I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide because I'm enjoying this book. But again, another thing that I will say is that these do, for me, tend to be a little bit too long for what they are. They're very long books. Like, this one is over 400 pages long, which I guess it's not the worst. Lauren Asher, no offense. Anna Wong with The Striker, no offense. But it's still a little overly long. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm gonna keep reading because I like it. I'm having a good time. Yeah, let's do it.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
I have made it to the last hour and a half of our first day. It is 11:05. I have finished A Long Time Coming. This one was so good. This is my favorite out of this series for sure. Like I said, it's a friends to lovers. It's also a he falls first. You do have the obstacle of her being engaged and getting married shortly, which another big plot of this book is that he acts as her bridesmaid, best woman, best man, whatever, and goes with her for a lot of the wedding planning, while she is also going with her shitty soon-to-be mother-in-law, who is very rich, tries to control everything, and just stuff like that. So that's a big plot point, as well as the fact that once they do start building a relationship, they don't want to ruin their friendship. So they're wanting to make sure that this is an actual real connection and not just sexual and like a fling that's gonna happen. So you have all of that compounded into this book, and I just really liked it. Of course, there are some parts that are very cringy, but it is for the most part slow burn, which I like a lot. I do love a good slow burn. And honestly, the only thing that really dragged out was like the ending and then the epilogue and stuff. I personally don't care for epilogues that much, so that did get a little bit dragged out. But for the most part, I just really enjoyed this, even when there wasn't much happening. And I really loved our characters, and I was definitely rooting for them. And also, I feel like this is important to state. She does not cheat. Because she's engaged, she does not cheat, so that is good. Technically, you could say she's emotionally cheating, but they genuinely don't have feelings for each other until they do, if that makes sense. So that is this one. I'm going to give it a 4-star. I know I've said this so many times, but I'm getting tired again. Anyways, I'm going to finish up this hour and a half. Let's do it. So we have our next book here. Let's see what it is. Okay, so this one is Poker Face. This is a small town romance. I just kind of saw it and added it onto my wish list because I love small town romances. I actually know nothing about it. I don't want to read this right now because I literally just read a chunky romance book. Let's open another one and see what it is. Okay. Oh. Now we have When She Was Gone by Lucinda Berry. This one is a mystery slash thriller. Why did I almost forget the words? But I've heard great things about Lucinda Berry. I have heard her compared to Frida McFadden, so if she's a fast-paced thriller writer that's easy to read, I think I'm gonna like her books. But I'm also not in the mood for a thriller. Let's open the last 2 books and we'll just choose. Yeah, I can do what I want to, okay? Free will. It's amazing. So the last 2 books. Ooh, okay. This is what I was looking for. Well, not looking for because I didn't know it was going to be in here, but this genre. I wanted a fantasy. This is The Female by Invi, Wright. I actually heard about this author because I came across her TikTok and she was promoting this book and it sounded so interesting and more on like a darker side of fantasy, so I definitely want to read this. And then let's see what the last book is. Okay, the last one is also a fantasy. We have the first book in the Shadow, or the Grisha-verse, Shadow and Bone. I also want to read this series eventually, but out of all of these books right now, the one that's actually gripping my attention is The Female. I think I'm gonna read this one. Dark fantasy romance, so let's do it. Wow, my husband picked out some great books though, so thank you, Parker, for that. It's official. I have completed a 24-hour readathon, and this is only the halfway mark, but it is past midnight, so I'm going to shower and go to bed and stuff, and then tomorrow I'll talk more about this book, obviously. My eyes, like, Jesus, why can't I just read for 24 hours without my eyes getting all blurry and tired, you know? Ugh, so rude. Hi everyone, so in a little bit it's technically going to be the next day from where I finished this off, but it's technically right now the same day. I finished my 24-hour readathon, I went to bed, I swear I slept for like 12 hours, and then I woke up for like 6, took another nap, and now we're here. It is almost midnight, and we're doing another 24-hour readathon, this time to try and get all of these books read before the new year. So it is currently, just turned December 30th because it just turned midnight. Where I left you guys off of, I only got to read a little bit of The Female. This is by Invi, Wright. Like I said, she is an author that I first found this book off of TikTok. So in this book, we are following Charlotte. In this world, the birth rates of women have dropped significantly, and the very few that are born, they are sold and bought at auction. There are like vampires, demons, ogres, humans, all of that. Charlotte is a human, and her whole life her parents have actually hidden her away to keep her safe, but then something happens and now she has been captured. She is going to be sold at auction. I've only made it to, I remember it was chapter 8, so let me see. So I've only made it 80 pages in, and so far we've already gotten to the point where she has been bought. She has been bought by a guy named Gray, who is an incubus. Incubuses feed off of sex, and he has two friends, Aziel and Silas. One of them is the King of Wrath, the other, I already forgot what he is. Gray, as an incubus, because he hasn't had a woman to have sex with, he has been going into their dreams and causing sex dreams between them in order to feed off of them, and that is why they purchased him, Charlotte, to begin with. Now, of course, you know, you have that eeriness of, okay, women being sold, being used for sex, like that's no bueno. But I will say in this one, it doesn't feel as dark as it could be. Like, there's definitely not been our main character getting sexually assaulted or like a gray area of consent. Nothing like that has happened yet, which I am glad, because it definitely could have led in that direction. But I have heard that as the series continues on, it's going to be a wide choose, but in this one, I believe the author said that it's not. It is just her and one of the guys. Most likely, I'm assuming it's going to be Gray, but Gray is actually such a sweet character in this book. Obviously, if this was real life, I don't care if they're sweet. All of this is wrong, but it's paper. We see that, right? It's paper, so it's fine. But anyways, we're gonna start the timer up and we're going to go ahead and continue reading. I'll let you guys know once I'm done. This is already proving to be a lot more difficult than I anticipated, but it's 4:34 in the morning, so we have made it to 20 hours. I finished The Female by Invi Wright. I will say this book is very gripping, like it was entertaining. Of course, for me personally, I feel like dark romances always have some very cringy and ridiculous moments. Like there's a scene in here where one of our characters is very angry and uptight and wound. They fear the only way to calm him down is by making him have an orgasm. So there's that. But honestly, when I read books of this genre, I kind of anticipate that happening in there. So I'm not going to harp on it too much for that. It is fun. It is entertaining. The plot does go further because Charlotte finds out that there is a secret that the King of Wrath and all of the men are harboring that could potentially change mankind and all of the lives of the human population. That's all I'm going to say on that. But it is very entertaining, very fast paced. Like I said, it doesn't have the wide shoes quite yet. There's little sprinkles of it here and there where you can tell that obviously not just Gray is attracted to Charlotte. Charlotte is also not just attracted to him, but it's going to be a jumble mess eventually, probably, because it is a series. I don't know how many books are in it, but I am interested to continue it just because it was a fun ride. So for this one though, I think I'm gonna settle at like a 3.75. It wasn't amazing, but I did have fun. So there is that one. Now we opened up the rest of the books yesterday that I had, and I think I'm gonna read a thriller. So that means I'm going to be reading When She Returned by Lucinda Berry. This is my first Lucinda Berry book, and I remember it says something about a cult, and I am very interested in the cult world. Not like to join one, but you know what I mean. I think they're fascinating to learn about, so hopefully this is a good one. Let's give it a shot. It is now 6:46 in the morning. I have made it to 17 hours and 49 minutes and 56 seconds to be precise, just in case you're wondering. But I've also made it to page or chapter 21 in When She Returned. In this book, we have 4 main characters. There's Kate, Meredith, Abby, and then the dad, but we don't really get the dad's point of view. We're just mostly following the 3 women. Kate is a woman who disappeared in a Target parking lot years ago. Abby is her young daughter, and Meredith is the woman that her husband remarried when she disappeared. As it turns out, Kate is now back. She showed up at a gas station carrying an infant baby, and they learned that the reason she disappeared is because she had joined a cult. So now that she is back, her family's just helping her readjust. There's a little bit of that, what do you do when you have your wife return, but you're already remarried? Obviously, Abby wants to spend time with her mother, even though she doesn't really know her mom that well. They're trying to figure out more of exactly what happened so that the police can catch this cult leader. We are also getting snippets of the past and how Kate even came to join this cult. And it's interesting, like I'm really enjoying it, but it feels more just like a normal fiction book. It doesn't really feel like there's much of a mystery element to it, especially if you know anything about cults. It honestly kind of just feels like a retelling of a story that probably has actually happened to someone in a cult before. I don't know what the mystery is really gonna be in this. Like maybe there's gonna be a huge plot twist or something. With that being said though, I am enjoying it. It's just not really giving me the thriller / mystery vibes. But we will have to see and finish it off to understand what's gonna happen, you know? I am hoping for a huge plot twist that I didn't see coming, but we will see. Okay, so now it is 8:46 in the morning and we have 15 hours and 51 minutes. I don't know if you can hear, but the landscaping business is here, so like I can hear the leaf blowers and lawnmowers and stuff, so that's amazing. I also feel oddly very awake right now. I do have a taro milk tea at 8 in the morning, which is fine. Anyways, I did just finish When She Returned, and I was hoping for a great plot twist. Spoiler, there wasn't one. Like I said earlier, if you know absolutely anything about cults, this book was very, very predictable. I could have told you what was gonna happen from the beginning. It felt more just like fiction. With that being said though, was it interesting? Yeah, I actually enjoyed it, but I just was going in with higher expectations, expecting to have a mind-blown plot twist, and I wasn't given that. So for that, I think this one's gonna be like a 3.5. It was interesting, not one of my favorites, and I'm still interested to read more from Lucinda because I've heard great things. Maybe this one just was a dud in the mix. We will have to see, but that is that one. Now though, I do think that I'm going to pick up a romance, so I've chosen Poker Face by Maggie Gates. It's a part of the Beaufort Poker Club. This is the first book. These are going to be small town romances. They're all like interconnected, and I've heard absolutely nothing about it. I just saw it. It seemed interesting, so that's why it was on my wish list, and my husband got it for me. So we will see if this could be our next small town obsession. Who knows? I have made it to chapter 24 and we are almost halfway through this. We are at 13 hours. In this book, we are following Madeline and Luca. Luca is a professional chef. Madeline actually works as like a baker at a restaurant that like also has a bakery in it. And she flies out to California because she's competing in this baking competition. She ends up going out on a date with a guy that she meets in the gym. And then lo and behold, he is one of the judges of the baking competition that she enters. But as it turns out, he is like a Gordon Ramsay type character. But she absolutely hates him because he's known for being kind of a mean chef. And she actually like has a Twitter account where she just constantly tweets out bad things about him, which is a little off-putting in my opinion. But if you ignore that, now she flies home after the competition and Luca is on the hunt for her. So he flies to where she lives in South Carolina. He now buys the restaurant that she works at. So they're going to be working together. She still absolutely hates him. He is obsessed with her. At the same time, it is small town. Her and her friends, which we've been introduced to, they all have a poker club where they just kind of blow off steam, drink, hang out, spend some time together. And I'm really enjoying it so far. It's not the best thing I've ever read. It's doing its job. And there are some really fun parts. Like she lives on a houseboat. All of her other friends that we're meeting, like you can tell which relationships are starting to form and what the other books in the series, like who those are going to be about. There's one in particular that I really want to read because in the very first chapter you learn that this man Scott in their friend group, is it Scott or is it Steve in the very beginning you learn that his wife actually has cancer and she passes away. The next books where that is more delved into, like Steve's story, I just know it's gonna hit different, but that's not what's going on. Right now I'm reading this one, and in this one it's okay. There's of course going to be some cringy dialogue. Luca isn't my favorite male character. I do like that Madeline is more of a fiery personality. I'm gonna keep reading though, and we will finish this up.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Now I am at 10 hours and 19 minutes. It's literally only 2 p.m. and I feel like I need a nap, but I did finish Poker Face by Maggie Gates. Also, my eyes feel super watery and my nose is very sniffly. I think it's just because I'm sleepy, but this book wasn't anything out of this world. Like I said, I am kind of excited for the other ones just to see if it gets better as a whole. In this one, I just didn't love our characters that much or their storyline because they do kind of get together very quickly and then the rest of it just dragged out so much for me. Another thing about the characters is Luca. Okay, he is Italian and he calls her Tereso, something like that. The thing is, the amount of times that he calls her that is absolutely ridiculous. I swear he would call her that at least 5 times in every single chapter, and the chapters are pretty short. Another thing that he did that I really found annoying was he would speak Italian to her, knowing damn well that she doesn't speak Italian, so she had no idea what he was saying. Imagine being in a relationship with someone, you're having a conversation and they'll just say a sentence in Italian and stare at you, and then you're just like, the fuck, what am I supposed to say to that if I don't know what you're saying? Like, I don't know. It just was so frustrating to me. I do think though that for me it's like a 3.5 because I did have fun and everything. And I do want to continue the series. It's just I don't think this is my cup of tea as a couple. And like the beginning I really did like. It just kind of, like I already said, it dragged out. So with that out of the way, I'm now going to start our next book. I know, okay, hear me out. The last book that I unwrapped from my book advent calendar was this one, but I don't want to start another series. And I actually didn't say this, but the other day, right after I finished the first book in this trilogy, I went ahead and bought the second and the third because I just have a feeling I'm gonna love it because I really did like the first one, A Darker Shade of Magic. So I feel like I should just continue a series I'm already in, and I think that's what I'm gonna do by reading this book, and this one is chunky, so I feel like it's going to take me a minute to get through, but we do have 10 hours left, so I do think I'll be able to hopefully finish it within 10 hours. We will see though. So let's start this one. I'm also interested to see because, like I said earlier, the first book in this series, it ended off where they were kind of going their separate ways, and it felt like it could have ended right there. So I'm intrigued to see how the two reunite and what could possibly bring them back together. Because if this is a book where the two main characters don't get back together, I will be upset, just so you know. It is 6 p.m. We have 6 hours left on our timer, and I'm about to eat dinner, but I did want to update you guys because I've made it to chapter 6, Imposters. How do I talk about books in a series without ruining anything? Okay, so if you have read the first one and this one, Lila, she is basically on an adventure with some new characters that we're meeting. Kel is dealing with some repercussions of things that have happened in the first book and him being part of like the royal family. And there's going to be a tournament in this one, so I feel like we're going to get some trials, which is pretty exciting because I love trials in a fantasy book, but we haven't gotten there yet. It's 50% of the way through and we've just heard that there's going to be a tournament. So I want to get into that because I want to see what that's about, and I think that will just ramp it up and make it a lot more interesting than it is so far because there's not too much happening. I'm not gonna lie, I do find myself getting a little bit bored at parts, but I still just love our characters, and like I said earlier, if they don't meet each other and interact, I will be upset, and that's kind of what's happening in here. They're not meeting each other quite yet, but I know that they are going to once the tournament starts. But that's like all I have. My camera's about to die, so I'm going to charge that up while I read a little bit more and eat dinner, and then I will be back. You want to know what is so fantastic? It's the fact that I was just sitting here talking to you guys, giving you my final thoughts on this book, and the whole time my mic wasn't plugged in. So here we go, round 2. I have 2 hours and 47 minutes left, and it's now 10 p.m. I finished this one. Here's the thing. I really like the characters in this series. I'm so excited to learn more about them. As I mentioned earlier, I was excited because I thought that there was going to be trials, but it was actually just like a one-on-one tournament. So it wasn't really trials, which now looking back on it, trials and tournament, two different things. So that was my own fault. I also mentioned that the characters weren't really interacting with one another, and I really wanted to see more of them together. However, I do think them being on their own and getting both their point of views, you did get to learn a little bit more about them and get to understand them better and also see them grow, although Delilah is debatable because this girl makes some of the dumbest decisions ever, but I still love it. I am excited to read the third one eventually. It's just I do kind of need a break right now. And with that, I'm going to give it like a 3.75. It wasn't as good as the first one, but I still did enjoy it. It's just some parts of it were a little bit boring, a little bit dragged out. And I also am getting Throne of Glass vibes for sure. If you are one that loves romantasy, don't go into this because the slow burn is there. That's that. Now though, I did decide that I'm actually going to finish a book I'm in the middle of. This is my book club's pick of the month, and that is Slinger by Rachel Schneider. I am on chapter 33, but it has really big font, so I feel like I will be able to finish this in the next 3-ish hours. In this one, we are following Bee. She has spent her whole life living and training to become a guard for, what are they called? The Allaha. See, here's the thing, whenever I read a word in a fantasy book, like it's aloha, but in my brain I will forever be saying aloha. While I'm reading it, I always just say aloha. Anyways, she is part of aloha, that, and she's been training to be a guard her entire life. She was given up by her parents. She doesn't know who they are, and then an enemy soldier comes to their land, and his name is Acker. He is being imprisoned there. He tells her a bunch of secrets that she didn't know about, which changes the trajectory of everything. So now she is on a mission with Acker. They're going back to where he is from. That's really what I'm going to leave you at so that I don't ruin anything. But the thing is, it is only one POV. I do like getting two. There's obviously going to be a romance in here, and if you know me, I don't love long travel scenes where like people are just on a journey, and there was one in here. But besides that, like, it's fine, it's easy, it's very digestible, it is gripping my attention so far. I just don't think it's anything out of this world, but I have heard really good things, specifically about a plot twist at the end that no one has seen coming. So I'm gonna finish it up, hopefully in the next few hours, and we will finally be done. This is kind of crazy. I can't believe I did this. I fell asleep and I woke up to the timer going off. I did read a little bit before I fell asleep, but then after the timer went off, I woke up and I just decided to finish Slinger and call it a day. So I don't know if I actually technically read for 24 hours, but it is 3:35 in the morning, so I'm calling it quits. This one, the ending, it did surprise me, and I actually was like going on TikTok looking through other people's thoughts and opinions on this book, and I agree with a lot of people to where the ending I didn't really love. It was a plot twist that didn't necessarily make 100% sense, but I get why the author did that. It was to completely throw the reader off. It's just not my favorite plot twist, but it wasn't a bad book. I definitely did enjoy the world that we're in and the banter between the two characters. I just don't know where the story is going to go from here, but I do recommend it, and I would say it's a 4-star read for me. So that's that one. I'm going to go back to bed. So that's it for this 48-hour readathon. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Don't do this, and don't ask me to ever do it again, because I will not. This is the one and only 48-hour readathon you'll ever see from me, because while I do enjoy reading, I think I enjoy sleep more. So that is that. I hope you enjoyed. If you read any of these books, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Give me suggestions if you have any. I hope you all have an amazing year. It's officially going to be 2025 tomorrow for me. I don't know when you're going to be watching this video. I hope you all have a great reading week and just a great week in general, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!